initial reduction bump, I guess you can say, and I'm just going to do that the rest of the way here before I accidentally, oh god, stop! Hello everybody, welcome back to Train Sim World. We are currently on Express Driver, and we're going to be playing the very last mission, London Paddington to Bristol Temple Meads 1C23. It says we're expected to get there in 27 minutes. We have to get 8,600 for our platinum medal. The weather looks pretty decent, so I'm looking forward to getting right into this for Train Sim World. Alright folks, with us inside our engine, we are currently at London Paddington right here, this beautiful station we will be coming back to in a few minutes. To get our train moving, as you can see, we have the temporary isolation fault there. So if we turn on AWS isolation and we turn on DSD isolation as well, that will turn off our temporary isolation fault. While we're here, we might as well turn on the train supply to bright. We might as well turn on our headlights, and just to zoom out, our headlight control, by the way, is there. It's currently 1700, so we don't need night headlamps yet, so we're still going to go with the day headlamps and markers. We're going to turn on the spare just because it does nothing for my train, and we don't need the windscreen de-icer. We probably don't need the DRA because we're ready to move on out, at least according to the dispatch. It says proceed to single with indicate. We will turn on the gauge lights to make it nice and bright, and while we're here, we might as well turn on the cab lights so you can see what's going on in this train. Turn on the master key, put the reverser all the way to forward, hit that Q key to turn off that annoying sound, put a little fans and probably a little cooler air today since it is April. We're going to release our brakes and put our brakes on to running. As you can see, we have to wait for this to come up all the way to 5.1. We have to wait for this go all the way back down to 0. If you ever run into the issue where your train basically just dies because you did something horribly stupid where you ran over an AWS single and you couldn't go anywhere, we're going to go ahead and do throttle 3. I believe we can get moving with this already. Let's see what happens. Can we move? Yes, we can. Good. So if you ever do something horribly stupid where you just cross over the queue and you didn't hit Q fast enough, on the Great Western Express, I've noticed this a couple times where the system doesn't actually bleep at you. As far as I know, it doesn't do any bleeping, and it's really annoying right now. But if it doesn't do any of the bleeping, folks, keep in mind you get shut down and your engine just slammed and you have nowhere to go, you will have to hit emergency brake, and you will have to essentially bleed out the air brake all the way down to 0. It does take a minute or two to finally do that before the light over here, the brake demand light, finally shuts off. There is a location up here where the AWS will go off, and the reason for that, if you look at the top right corner, you'll see that I've got a green, yellow, and red light. So I probably don't want to go too fast because I know I'm going to already hit that red zone. What we're waiting for is a networker turbo that's ahead of me that wants to come through first before we can go to Reading. We, of course, need to be in Reading. The timetable, by the way, if we look at it, all we're doing is just going straight to Reading. This train is going to Bristol Temple Meads, so it had nothing to do with any of the other stations in between there and here. So even though we can go 40/50, the 50 zone coming up here, we could go that fast, but we do have the red zone coming up. I doubt that networker turbo will be any faster for me, so I'm going to have to wait patiently. And there's my AWS. There's at least 2 of them here that I had to worry about. It's only triggering that because of the red light up ahead. So we do want to have our train brake handy just to make sure we have the ability to stop before we hit the red zone. In fact, it looks like we got a green light. That is good for us. So whatever networker turbo, there he is. There's that networker turbo just behind the 50-mile-an-hour sign. So we might as well bump this up all the way to throttle 5 and zoom us out, and let's see if we can get there in the 27 minutes that we need to be there for. We might be a few minutes late. We'll have to wait and see what happens, folks. Yeah, so folks, once we leave the Paddington area, we will have the ability to go a little bit faster. In fact, out of the entire Brunel's billiard table, this section here happens to have the most steepest grade. Otherwise, the majority of the area is pretty flat. I got to give it a lot of credit that it manages that. One thing I do have to say about this is if you listen to the sound here and you hear all of the echo that's happening out here, even if I went to the back of the train, the same sort of deal, what you're getting here is a lot of the road noise. Oh my god, I'm going speeding. I'm just going to let my train naturally slow down. It'll be fine. But yeah, if we just zoom out here, and I was looking for camera A and found something else, you'll just kind of hear the roadway noises. So my train's already gone, but you'll notice that the train itself caused all of that echo bouncing off the walls because there was a lot of walls there. But if you notice, as we move further and further away from the walls of the road, the train noise starts to drop and starts to dip. And once we get to open country, that noise just really dissipates and everything gets really spread out at that point. So we can finally go 100 miles an hour, so we're going to go ahead and throttle up and get a bunch of smoke in my face there, and let's get back inside the cab because that's just too much for me. Today, we are going to be talking about Paddington itself. So Paddington is essentially mixed in with the history of England capital city. For the folks in the UK, you probably know what the capital city of England is itself, which happened to be London. It better be London, or else I'm going to be screwed up here when I say this. But folks, the Paddington area happened to be huge with many historic events. So one of them happened to be Queen Victoria joining in on her very first rail journey in 1842 to the birth of Prince George and Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis at St. Mary's Hospital more than 170 years after the fact. So Paddington used to be a metropolitan borough, if I'm ever pronouncing that right, and Paddington eventually became part of the city of Westminster, I believe that's how you pronounce that, Westminster. Paddington eventually became part of the city of Westminster in 1965, and now Paddington, for anybody who happens to go to the UK these days, it becomes a very important cultural hub of the UK. People in the UK can totally correct me if I'm wrong on that idea, but that's at least the viewpoint I'm looking at it coming in from an American looking at Paddington. In 2017, the Great Western Express route here was designed and made for this, so some of the history of Paddington doesn't exist yet according to this route. For example, the Elizabeth line didn't get put in yet, and it was actually a work in progress before the Elizabeth line finally got put in. From a cultural standpoint, you had Sir Alexander Fleming, who developed and discovered penicillin. That happened in Paddington in 1928. You also have Michael Bond's Paddington Bear. So for the folks that watch TV and have watched cartoons, you will see the Paddington Bear. That is where Paddington Bear's original name came from this very location here. So the Paddington Bear actually came about in 1956 on Christmas Eve, when Michael actually discovered a random bear in a Paddington store. It was all by itself, and Michael picked him up as a gift for his wife, and Michael was inspired to write his very first tale of Paddington Bear in 1958. And if you've ever watched a Paddington Bear story, you know exactly how the rest of that story turned out. So even though we're driving away from Paddington, even though we're going towards Reading, we do want to talk about Paddington because it really is a cultural hub of the area. We do have plenty of time. There's plenty of missions here in journey mode to be able to talk about the different areas and whatnot, and plenty of time to kick the Q button in the butt before it shuts me off. Hopefully it won't, and hopefully I won't be late because of it. We are on the outside cam, and we are chasing a Networker Turbo. It can only go 90 miles an hour to my 106. So folks, sorry you aren't on the express route. Have a nice day. That lovely lady there is not even looking at my train. She's not even looking forward. That's crazy. She's looking at those rail cars right there. The Paddington arm of the Grand Union Canal opened in July of 1801. For the folks that live in the UK, you probably will recognize it as the Grand Junction Canal until 1929. For the folks that happen to be that old right now, 1929, it joined the Regent Canal on the latter's completion by 1820 with the formation of Browning's Pool at Little Vennins. The Grand Junction Canal Company eventually saw the construction of the Paddington Basin. Along those canals came goods and freight of new industry in the Midlands and the North, searching out markets in London and unloading into warehouses all over the canal banks. You have to give myself credit for reaching for the key on my keyboard with one finger, and by the way, my keyboard still works. If I actually edited it in towards the end of the last episode, I spilled a drink all over my keyboard and fried my keyboard. Half of my keyboard did not work. I let it rest, and I managed to save my keyboard. I love this keyboard I got. Not only that, I ordered two keyboards. One, because I needed something super quick because I had to do some work. And then two, I ordered a second one to replace this one that I like better. So I'm still going to keep this one until this one dies. By the time Burnell decided to bring in the Great Western Railway, 1838 was the arrival of the steam train, and Paddington became the forefront of a new transportation system. Eventually, Paddington became the terminus for the Isambard Kingdom Brunel's magnificent Great Western Railway. Say that 100 times fast. The original Paddington Station opened on the 4th of June of 1838 on a site to the west of what is now Bishopbridge Road. It was not until May of 1854 that the station was fully operational in its current location, where we have it in this game. of 2017. Brunel's Paddington Station by now is considered grade 1 listed and is considered potentially the most important historical railway station in the entire world. Somebody from other parts of the world, including America, please think about that and correct me if I'm wrong on any front on that. At least according to the UK, they believe Paddington is the best station ever. Nobody's on the yellow line! Oh my god, that's amazing! Nobody's doing it here. This station is perfect. The canal to Paddington eventually fell out of favor because the rail and the roads began to take the majority of the strain of an industry and of travel. So the vibrant central London streets have become cinemas with disused canal wharfs, empty warehouses, and barren goods yards. Oh my god, all those people just got run over and I didn't even honk at them. That's so terrible. But yeah, so the Paddington area just became essentially, so San Francisco reminds me of that, of the Embarcadero, but the wharf there is still in use. So there's a lot of places where the wharf is used, but you end up getting this perception that Paddington equals wharf, Paddington equals areas to take ships and whatnot. And with the wharf just going out of use, it just became pretty terrible. And it got so bad to the point where entire areas that were actually inaccessible for literally 200 years of all time period, 200 years of inaccessibility, created a whole bunch of barriers between communities and squandered the area's potential. And by the early 1990s, even though there was still a booming transport hub, much of Paddington had basically been overlooked as a place to do business. It was not a place to be. It was a place to basically avoid for quite a while. Many of you folks may have been around in 1998. In 1998, something called the Heathrow Express arrived as a non-stop, dedicated high-speed train connecting passengers to and from Heathrow Airport. And because of that Heathrow Express, that actually started the interest in Paddington as a station, Paddington as a location, Paddington as a cultural hub. So for many people, that was the time for Paddington to become connected again, not through simply just rail, planes, and buses and all that stuff, but actually building a place for modern commerce and local communities. And there was a goal to restore Paddington, not just like it was yesterday, but make Paddington of tomorrow. At the same time, there emerged a desire to breathe new life into the waterways, to give them all renewed purpose and a modern landscape, and open up spaces for public to actually go out there and enjoy their time and do things out there. Paddington got designated as Paddington Opportunity Area by Westminster City Council and was highlighted as one of London's key opportunity areas. Paddington then became the largest, most significant regeneration and growth opportunity ever. Probably in recent times, even the city of Oakland out here in California probably pales in comparison to what they had done in Paddington. Many people may not know this, I'm going to have to pull up this on the map, but a place called Soho, trying to bring a place literally the size of Soho back to life was not going to be easy. And 1998, the Paddington Partnership was set up to connect multiple landowners, development companies, development programs, funding bodies, local communities, and all of that. They forged the future of Paddington. The initial founding members included things like the BAA, the British Waterways, Grainhertz. You also had Hilton London Metropole, I believe I said that right, Kensington, Chelsea, and Westminster Health Authority, Paddington Development Corporation, Railtrack, and Rialto Homes. Keep in mind, Railtrack is not the same as Simtrack, folks. The Great Western, oh my god, I'm speeding. The Great Western Railway didn't join in as a founding member. In fact, the Great Western Railway came in much later with British Land, Brockton Everlast, DC Land, Derwent, London, European Land. Heathrow Express actually didn't join as a founding member, really surprisingly. The Imperial College Healthcare NHS Trust, the Emeritus Real Estate Seller Property Group, and Tisman's Spay? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but whatever. The hope for Paddington was to create a partnership that would achieve way more together, and the partnership worked hard to bring the shared sense of place to life, trying to create an identity, make it a destination go-to place, a sense of individuality that was different than the larger theme of London, and that actually had some sort of meaning and purpose to everybody that was part of it, whether it was businesses, community, tourists, whatever it was. And so Paddington now is the go-to place of London and happened to be one of the most sought after locations to do business, to live, work, and play. So kind of keep in mind the Great Western Express route being one of the very first routes of the UK. This was a fantastic place to bring the Great Western Express route and do a trip here because of Paddington's renowned popularity, I guess you can say. The key, in a sense, for Paddington was to make Paddington the gateway to London, to essentially make that the connection to the larger world and London itself. By 1998, Network Rail oversaw the overhaul of a £65 million lift to Paddington Station, with an additional $47 million refurbishment of Span 4 in 2009 through 2011. Those of you in the UK probably remember this. They had designed to restore the Victorian structure to its former glory while bringing the station up to date with contemporary transportation industry. Network Rail refurbishment of the Paddington Station continued all the way to 2014 through 2016, which spanned 1, 2, and 3. Today, Paddington is actually the busiest station out there, with one of the highest times for those passing through. They actually wait in Paddington and hang out at Paddington for quite some time, just to simply pass through, and the station remained globally and historically significant, taking Brunel's original vision of connecting London to the world and really driving that forward. For the cost of the Crossrail system, at whatever cost it was in the last episode, I said it only improved capacity by an extra 10%. The Elizabeth line on the Crossrail system connected and finally started service May 2022, with 24 trains per hour stopping at Paddington, each carrying up to literally about 1,500 passengers. That means every day the Elizabeth line alone brings in 1.5 million people within a 45-minute commute of the major employment centers of Paddington, the West End, the City, and the Canary Wharf. But since 1998, Paddington has seen the development of over 2.5 million square feet of commercial space, with another 1.4 million put into the pipeline. Even though Paddington may seem like a business district, it's actually not, and over £10 billion has been invested in creating a Paddington that actually allowed Paddington to evolve alongside London. But Paddington is getting away from the model of just being a transport hub and having new buildings alone. It becomes really more of a place about people, the communities, the neighborhoods, just creating that ambiance, that vibrance, you know what I mean? Ambiance and vibrance. I don't even know what I'm saying there. I'm just having so much fun. We are coming up on our stop, and I probably should slow this train down a lot more than I'm already doing. I'm just going to do initial reduction for now. I got 2 miles to go. With that, you can already see why Paddington is a very unique setting. And at this point, 2004, the community program was launched, enabling employees from local businesses to be able to donate time and resources to local causes. And since then, employees from Paddington area companies have contributed to very valuable programs that have existed. We're finally dropping under 90, so that's a really good thing. So I'm just going to let my throttle go down. The program, which is known as the Paddington Community Program, has gone from literally strength to strength year after year, and now place 1,000 colleagues from Paddington businesses into 40 partner charities and schools every single year, which is really impressive way to give back to the community, to bring the community more focus. And Paddington's a place called Paddington First, the partnership dedicated recruitment center, essentially found work for 5,740 people between 2001 and 2011. The partnership dedicated recruitment center, Paddington First, found work for 5,740 people across the span of 2001 through 2011. I gotta slow this train down way more. We are going way too fast here. We're coming up on the end of Reading, and I'm probably gonna blow through the single. I don't want to do that, but I have enough brakes to make this work. I think I'm gonna be all right, and we should be able to just slide in pretty easily. Oh yeah, I got a little more. Train break 4, please. 5. Oh, I just sped over a little bit. 9,100 AP. That is not bad for the AP score I'm looking at here. We are about 400 yards away from Reading, and we are going to be docking our HST and calling Chapter 2 to a close. I am so looking forward to this. As much as I enjoyed driving the HSTs and found them really fun to drive, what I really wanted to do was get out there and start driving the sheds. I'm looking forward to driving the shed. I like driving freight, partly because I don't have to deal with this time limit issue. I am super early. I'm pretty amazed how early I am right now. It's only 17:24 and I have 3 minutes to slowly roll over to the end of the line, so I'm gonna hope for the best I get to the end of the line okay. Yeah, so after the Elizabeth line came in, an oversight development above the taxi facility will be completing the canal side setting, reinforcing Paddington's commercial standing as the best connected location in London. Yard 9 has also created an additional 86,000 square feet of commercial space and 7 new homes at 50 Eastbourne Terrace and a few other places. The former sorting office is now poised to become Paddington Square if it didn't already happen already, with Seller Property Group transforming the London street side into a striking 360,000 square feet office complex with 75,000 square feet of retail space, restaurant use, etc. And more of this stuff is going to be happening over time that you may actually see Paddington be a really important cultural hub. It's going to be really fantastic. We got to stop this train. I did stop this train. I'm just going to let it kind of coast along. I just gave it a little initial reduction bump, I guess you can say. And I'm just going to do that the rest of the way here before I accidentally... Oh, God, stop. Oh, my God, 8 yards. Yikes, that was so good. Thank goodness. I was so close. Unlock the left doors, please. Oh, my God. That was so good. I totally need a screenshot of that. Oh my God. All right, folks. So all we got to do is load up our passengers. Once that's all said and done, we will be calling this mission to an end, so to speak. And that will be the end. And maybe we'll talk about Reading as a destination hub as well, because Reading, Slough, and Paddington happen to be the 3 destination hubs, even though like all these people are like still on the train not leaving. Most of them are actually going to Bristol, Temple, Meads, so the rest of them have a great trip. In the meantime, as for us, we've got places to go, honestly. All right, folks, so we have finished unloading passengers. I think we're done getting people off the train, although they're mysteriously still coming out. Even though it says to lock the doors, why are you guys still coming out? You can't go. You're supposed to go to Bristol, Temple, Meads. You're not allowed to leave my train. Maybe there's just the last few, who knows? But they're all leaving the train for some reason. Who knows? Look at this. We gotta lock the door. Sorry, folks. No more people out of this train. We're done. That's it. That's the last of you guys. So let's see our final score, folks. We have speeding only -130. That's not too bad. A couple places where I was just over speeding, but that's quite all right. We're supposed to get 8,600 for the AP score for Platinum Medal. We did get 9635. I'm very happy with that. With this episode, as usual, do like and subscribe. Let me know what you think, and I would love to hear your comments about London Paddington. And it's actually technically called Paddington. For the rest of us, it's called London Paddington. We don't know where it is, right? But London Paddington for us, Paddington for you guys, all right? So with this, everybody, I think we're about set, and we're done with Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. We are heading for the sheds for Chapter 3, and then we have the mainline driver with a mix of all 3 services going into Chapter 4. So more coming soon for you guys, and stay tuned. Love to hear what you guys think. Leave me comments, subscribe, and of course, like, and we will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye. The only reason I left the cabinet open, folks. This will take you to the next cabinet and down into the second man seat, where we can actually much more clearly see the fan, and we can even see the heater speed here on a completely different dial, and we can see whether or not we want to overheat the switch or not.